Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Monaco.
And I'm Bobby Salvesen. We are the Hazmat Guys, bringing you knowledge and insight to make your job a little bit easier and safer.
Let's take a minute to hear about today's sponsors.
Hey guys, Bobby from the Hazmat Guys here, and this episode is brought to you by FLIR Systems. If you're not sure about your white powder is fentanyl, or maybe you suspect that you have an explosive hazard, or you need to confirm that the leaking barrel is toxic, the FLIR Griffin G510 GCMS is your go-to for next-level on-scene chemical identification. Mounted in your vehicle or carried to the point of sample collection, it is always ready. Using the built-in touchscreen, start the method wizard to help you select the best method for the mission. If you have no time, no lab, it's no problem. You can quickly identify unknown chemicals with accuracy. To learn more, go to FLIR.com/G510, or that's FLIR, FLIR.com/G510.
Let's get to the show.
Hey everybody, Bobby here from the Hazmat Guys with episode 206, along with my cohort,
Hello.
Mike.
How's everybody doing out there, out in podcast land?
Yeah, I hope they're doing all right. Lots of stuff's going on. Well, it went on, at least. We were in Florida, hanging out in St. Augustine with our good peeps in Federal Resources for a little while. Getting out some new information, some new techniques of getting information.
Yeah,
with Gary and Kurt and all them guys.
Yeah, we were doing the first of our modular metering classes.
I think it went over pretty well. We have, listen, it's never going to come off like a gangbuster the first time, but the people out in Florida, I think they got a little bit out of it. And then they got the sweep up crew, Chris Naff and Todd Smith came in and really pulled our fat out of the fire.
Yeah, they did. They were busting out their propane IQ for big boy tanks.
That looks awesome.
Yeah.
It looks so cool when they do that. So, but no, it was a great time, and we're going back to the drawing board. We're going to fix a couple of little issues, and it will be even more gooder.
Oh, as gooder can be.
Yes, absolutely, that is true.
And where are we going to be next? We've got a couple of unknowns. We got a little break, right? Kind of a Christmas holiday starting now.
Yeah, but I think it's right afterwards. We're in negotiations with Florida. I want to say Wisconsin, Michigan, cold zone. There's a bunch on the docket.
Yeah, spring gets really busy.
Yeah, so we hope to come out and hang out with you guys, and I don't want to give it out too early, but the new website is almost ready.
Ooh, so close. Which means, yes, for all those people who are constantly sending us emails, hey, where can I buy some of your stuff? We will have a shop. We will be selling new stuff. We will have all updated stuff. Just, hold your horses. We're almost there.
Yeah, it's going to be much cooler. I'm really happy with it, and we're going to probably be shifting gears with the podcast a little bit, but don't fret. We will have we're not taking anything away, but we're going to reinvent the plan a little bit, and I think everything will get better.
Yeah,
so.
It's we're always looking to improve, always looking to make things better. And kind of speaking of improvement, that kind of leans us right into what we're going to be chatting about tonight, right?
Yeah, it's you know what, we've gone back through our history of shows, and we found that a lot of times I'm not going to say back to basics, but I will say the 7 tips for or the 10 tips for did better than some of the other shows, and we're just experimenting with that whole thing. So this show is 7 ways to work more effectively as a team.
Yeah, we've done quite a bit of evaluations, and we sit and we watch teams perform, and we were always writing up after action reports, the whole 9 yards. And there seems to be, I don't know, what would you say, like common thread among the things that teams can improve on, right? So like we watch them drill, they go through the whole process from start to finish, and we turn around and we sit down and we go, okay, this is where we saw you guys not do so well. This is what we saw you guys do well. And they seem to be pretty consistent along the lines that the teams that end up doing really well, where we're like, hey, guys, that was really great, they have all of these steps and they're implementing them. And inevitably the ones that fail are missing a couple of these steps, sometimes all of these steps.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what the funny thing is, not to harp on it anymore, but it's like the escape room that we made kind of points out, if you don't go into that room or actually with a real operation, you're not as likely to succeed. And it's one thing in the room, but it's another thing at an operation.
Ooh, so maybe we can change the name of this to 7 Ways to Escape Our Escape Room.
That would be a good idea. Oh, that's a good idea. I have to write that one down.
All right.
7 tips to get out of the room. But, all right, so the first one. Let's get right into the first one. The first one is that everybody on the scene has a pre-assigned job. All right? So let me explain that out a little bit. Not just everybody on the team, everybody on the scene. And I wholeheartedly agree with this. Like, the chief's got to be the chief. The officer's got to be the officer. The entry's got to be entry, and everybody needs to know their place and how they plug into that whole operation. And with that, you get a higher than normal success rate.
Yeah, it seems that when people are focused on their task because they already know ahead of time what it is they have to do, they can start this process of almost like size up, where they're already thinking about the steps that they need to do in order to perform their job. And it becomes a lot easier if you have that assignment before you even get on scene, instead of trying to like run around and pick and choose and doing all sorts of stuff, right? Like it's that we've seen that before. We've seen where things go wrong when they're just willy-nilly running around.
Right, and we, I'm not gonna call out a guy, but there's a guy that we affectionately call Entry 3.
Yes.
Right, and he just gets in the middle of things, and it's just, if everybody, has a predetermined job, and this is what we call, where we work, it's called roll call. Right, yeah. And at the beginning, it doesn't mean that I'm always going to be entry, or I'm always driving, or I'm always doing tech ref or science or resource, whatever you call it. I do like cross-training, but I know what I'm doing. I can set my gear up, I can set myself up, and I mentally set myself up for success before the whole operation starts.
Right. The sooner you can know what your position is going to be, the easier it is for you to focus on your job amidst of all the chaos that's kind of around. And
right.
that leads us into step number 2. Or is it step number 2? What do we call these? Tips number 2.
Tip number 2.
Tip
like
number
that.
2. All right. Is that with that idea that everybody has a pre-assigned job, you also want everybody to stay in their lanes unless your officer specifically changes your lane, right? Like if you go on scene and your job is to get gear from the rig to the hot zone, then don't go dressing up and going into the hot zone. Like, you
right.
have to stay in your assigned place. Like your team members are really heavily relying on you. As boring as a position might be, and as exciting as another position might be, or you may sit there and go, oh my gosh, I've done this before. I shouldn't be here. My experience should be over there. Mm-hmm. You got to really stick with what your pre-assigned job was.
That's how you get into trouble.
Yeah, because, and we've seen it over and over again when we're doing evaluations, is that what actually ends up happening is you have this breakdown in the command in which an officer or a chief is assuming that a job is getting done because they've assigned a position to somebody, right? So let's say I've been assigned resource, or what do some people call it?
Tech ref, science
officer, yeah, all that stuff. So there's an assumption that when my officer is off doing other things, that a job is being done. Reference material is being looked up. Information is being gathered and collected. Interviews are being done. the responsible parties are being talked to. The chief is being updated if that's what need be. And if I veer off of that plan, then the information or the way the team builds the hazmat case, where they bring all that information together, there's going to be stuff missing at a very critical moment, and the operation fails. And as much as you want to like jump in and play with this and touch this toy and do this, it's a really good idea to stay in your lane. And if you see something that needs to be done, you need to use that chain of command to be like, hey, boss, there's a hole that needs to be filled.
Right. That was what I was going to say, is that, we're not saying that even if you see an emergency, because, in hazmat, everybody's a safety officer.
Yeah.
Right? So, it's not saying, well, I'm just going to put my blinders on and purposefully not assist the operation because this is my lane. We are all helping the boat get to the finish line, but the problem is that when you have guys that are entry 3, you are more often than that, because whatever you're going to add to the entry team, you're pulling away from where you really were supposed to be, which means the other guy, or if there is no other guy, he's either working harder or nobody's doing the job.
Right.
And entire things fall apart there, and that is never a bueno operation there. So
yeah. We've seen these types of people come in and they're attempting to help, they're attempting to better the situation, but they are just make up their own game plan. And they start doing unnecessary things, and then things are being done that the real entry team doesn't know about, or the officer doesn't know about. Steps are being repeated. It can get out of hand pretty quick.
Tip number 3, debrief after every entry. All right, so if I go in on an entry and let's say I'm doing a wardrobe change, or I'm just getting a cup of water, getting more equipment, I am of the opinion that you should give a little bit of information, not a little bit, I'm not saying measure it, I'm saying give information out to the outside team, because it all prepares them. Now, there are teams out there that are utilizing the radio, and they're considering that the ongoing debriefing. I am less in favor of that. I like a little bit more of the hazmat fist-to-chest type communications, where I'm talking to you. There are departments now that are doing video, which to perfectly honest with you, I am a big fan of it. I've heard both sides of the argument with, it's a legal liability. What if something goes wrong? That video now would be part of the record.
Well,
I don't understand that.
And I get that. What is there a difference? And we're going to sidetrack real quick because you brought the topic up. Is there a difference in your mind between a streaming video and taking a video so somebody can watch after you get out of the hot zone?
I can see streaming being a problem.
Okay, all right, perfect. That's exactly where I was going. What is your thought on that stream? Because this is actually a question that we get significant amount of emails about. Is the whole streaming video GoPro, so my Chiefs can watch me. What are your thoughts? And I'll fill in whatever. I'm pretty sure we're on the same page as this, but what is your thought? I'm not a fan of the streaming. First off, security-wise, it is easy to hijack a signal, right? And so let's say that is hijacked and something does go wrong. I can see how the liability is there. Secondly, there are points where I'm operating in a hot zone and the chief is calling me every 6 seconds, what's going on? And now I give him the ability to see what I'm doing. I don't need more eyes on me, like while I'm trying to perform. So I could see things happening like, hey, Mike, just do me a favor. Can you turn to the left for a little while and let me see what that is? While I'm in the middle of trying to figure out whatever it is I'm trying to figure, hey, can you do that? Hey, look at this. Hey, why don't you try, I need 6 people in my ear trying to tell me how to turn a wrench because the bolt is stuck. That's not something that seems overly enjoyable to me.
I am in favor of taking a video and bringing it back because there is information to be gleaned from that.
Right.
Maybe even just still pictures. If you don't want the video, then still pictures. But nonetheless, it is incredibly informative for the second entry team or whatever to walk in and go, oh, okay, at that blue door, I'm hooking a left, and I got to chalk it, and they understand things. It's a lot more when you have that kind of information as opposed to me saying, go 60 paces. How many people are counting the paces? I mean, seriously. So
there was a team that we evaluated, and I watched they did multiple entries. There was like 3 or 4 different entries, and they were smart enough to talk to each other. And the first team actually drew out a map for the second team, but the map was so, I'm not going to say poorly done. Okay, yeah, no, I am. I'm going to say poorly done. It was so poorly done that I was looking at the map going, like, that is nothing what the inside of this building looks like in any way, shape, or form. And I let it go. And I didn't say anything because you don't say anything. You just let the situation run out when you're evaluating. And the second team went in, and the third team went in, and they almost got lost because they were trying to follow this map instead of actually like just looking around in front of them. And it was like, second room on the right has this, third room on the left has this, and they're just kind of like trying to follow the map. So if you're going to do things like a map, make sure it's done well. I 100% agree with you, Bob. Like, a video is the way to go. Pictures are the way to go. You can point. You can be like, hey, right here, see this door. This is what this looks like. So much more information is relayed one-on-one versus the radio, right? Like, you're communicating. You're trying to make it quick. You're not trying to sit and chat forever. Nobody wants to hear, you go into detail about what's in this room over the radio. So, yeah, I agree. The whole debriefing after entry is very, very important.
Hey guys, you've heard us talk about First Line Technologies' Dahlgren Decon solution and their FiberTech wipes and mitts. Well, they've had a lot of their customers ask them to provide in-depth training on using Dahlgren Decon, FiberTech wipes, as well as their various kits, and now they've created a First Line Utilization Academy to deliver the range of classes designed to improve their students' knowledge of hybrid decontamination. They have a special comprehensive Train the Trainer course designed to prepare trainers and hazmat team leaders to return to their organizations and conduct training. The participants in this course will receive a template lesson plan, a presentation they can use to train their teams, and a quick reference book they can use in the field. Now, class size for the Train the Trainer class is limited to 6 to 8 participants, and classes fill up fast, so reserve your desired training date today. They will also conduct customized on-site classes to entire teams to give everybody both classroom instruction and hands-on experience in using Dahlgren Decon and FiberTech wipes for hybrid decontamination. Call the guys at First Line Technology for more information or to register for a class at 703-955-7510 or email them at training@firstlinetech.com. All right, let's pick up where we left off. Yeah, and honestly, I think the whole GoPro thing is an important thing, and just a consideration out there. A lot of teams may be thinking about putting into a dive-type bezel, which is totally cool, but just remember that, and there are, I'm not going to say there are no chemicals that will just melt your camera. However, I will say make sure the glass that is in front of the video screen is true glass. Because if you go into a ketone leak, and if you ever take ketones, it's basically the PVC primer. It fogs things out. And so if you go into a ketone leak and it's the camera's screen or the lens may get completely etched by the ketones acting on the plastic itself. So that's just a small, make sure it's glass, is what I'm saying. So,
yeah. And then even then, make sure that if you're dealing with something that's fluoride based, glass can be etched. Like you said, there's no one thing that's gonna hold back all chemicals. A number 4, all right? The fourth thing that we see over and over and over again, and probably I would say the second most important thing, is having all the information going through a central point. there is a ton of information that gets gathered on a hazmat scene, especially when you have an unknown, especially when you have a really big event. It's so important that all that information pass through a single source. It should be gathered by one person and one person only, which lends us to a question. Who should that person be?
Well, I do not agree with giving it to the incident commander.
Well, yeah. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt. I don't
in the beginning. The reason is because I will say, and I'm not just talking about just where we work, I'm saying this is probably a national thing, is the people that are going downrange and actually turning nuts and bolts are astute hazmat operators. Their officer, hopefully, is an astute hazmat operator. Hazmat incident command is below technician. Okay? So what I want to do is to give the information to a central hub, problem man officer, who I'm hoping is the great translator that can take science nerdville speak and give it to an incident commander in a way that will benefit our tactics. I'm not saying manipulate. I'm saying that they will give the information in a manner that will support the tactics and in a way that they can understand.
All right, I'm gonna agree with you on one point and push back a little on one point. I agree with you that the officer should be giving the information to the incident commander.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you should be going through a dedicated resource firefighter for all your information. And my reason for this is that the officer has so much other stuff that they have to do, supervising their guys and the scene and maybe helping with an operation, that I don't think that they're a good spot to be able to process all that information.
Okay.
Whereas a dedicated firefighter, like how we have it as a resource, all of our information funnels through the resource guy. Hopefully they're experienced enough to be able to screen out the nonsense, filter down the important stuff, and then relay that important information to the officer, who can then take the important information and relay it to the incident commander.
I don't disagree with that. I will say whoever that person is has to be adept in tact, communication tacts.
Yeah.
Because just from the dynamic of I'm the incident commander, and I'm not saying all incident commanders are like this, but there are those out there, and you have to be prepared for them, is that why am I going to listen to you? Who are you to talk to me?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They filter out the information and give it to their officer, and then that officer can pass it off to the incident commander. Right.
So that's a pretty good one. Has to be an information gathering.
Yeah, because we see this. We've seen this in evaluations where information is kind of like parallel run, where an entry team gets a little bit of information and gives it to their officer. A resource person is interviewing a victim, and since those information lines don't cross, then a key bit of information that would have fit perfectly with another key bit of information is never put together. So that's why it's that understanding, that putting pieces together. That's really what that resource firefighter is doing, is putting pieces together. And if you don't have the ability for all that to be centrally located and then redistributed from there, you cross your lines and key information just doesn't make it to where it needs to go.
All right, that brings us to tip number 5, the old hazmat huddle.
I would venture to say probably the top tip that we have today.
I don't disagree with that. This is we've mentioned this. If you've seen us on the road, we talk about this extensively, and we talked about this on the show. This is what we call when all the hazmat assets, the guys that matter. No, let me say that wrong. I'm saying that wrong. Not the guys that matter, because that's a little bit elitist.
The technicians.
Was that?
The technicians.
The technicians. We get together and we have a little huddle, right? And we go over what our tactics are, what our PPE is, what our plan is to be, and what we want to achieve. Right? We just kind of it's informal, and anybody can speak up. But the overarching thing is, if you speak up to change the trajectory of what we're going to do, the inevitable question is why. And that's where you're going to have to dance it out.
You better have a good answer.
Right.
Well, maybe you don't. Maybe it's just kind of like, I don't know why I feel this way. I just strongly feel this way, and it can be talked about. But you should be able to back up your feelings with facts.
Right, exactly. So, like, if I say, hey, listen, I think we can go in a level B, and Mike goes, you know what, I disagree, I think we should go in a level A. Okay, why? And then he would present his thing, and we would either go, yeah, that's I don't agree with it, I think we're going to go this way. Or we all go, you know what, that's a really good idea. And it is probably, like Mike said, it is probably one of the most important things we do. Hazmat is a low-frequency, high-risk type event.
Yeah.
Right? And so the team concept is incredibly important in hazmat because no one person is an island unto itself to know all the pieces of every piece of every event. So, like, I might need the input of a plumber guy or a chemistry guy or a meter guy. It means it's good to get information. It's good to get opinions. And it's good to give everybody on the team input. And I'm not saying that everybody has to be, I'm not going to say acknowledged, but
weighted equally.
Yeah, right. And but not everybody, if I say, well, I think we should be going to level A, it's not automatically like, oh, okay, he has concern, we're automatically going to kick it up.
Right.
Like, even if the guy has a legit concern and be like, all right, man, this is kind of your job. And I think we're all in agreement, and you're not seeing it. Is it just him? It's like all those disaster movies. They always start with that. The scientist that goes to the government and says, "Hey, I think this is going on," and they all go, "Shut up!"
Right.
And every disaster movie starts that way. What I'm saying is, even the guy that is passionate, well-spoken at moving everything up, he's not always right. You got to feel it out.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point you brought up, that one person is not always right, is that everybody's kind of like, they have different points of views and different experiences, so everybody's able to kind of like bring something different to the table, and you don't just have one hazmat huddle for the scene. Like you don't just do one and it's like, okay, we're going to do this. You got to have a hazmat huddle every time something changes.
Yeah.
Because you got to reevaluate. You need that team aspect to literally reevaluate the situation. So it's not just at the beginning. It's when an event changes. It's when your goals change. It's when your tactics are going to change. It's when something goes wrong. The hazmat huddle is so important.
I will add one more thing to this point before we move on is select the people in the huddle carefully. Okay, it doesn't mean this is a free-for-all where I'm bringing incident command staff and, rescue technician, officers in. This is too many chefs spoil the soup.
Yeah, technicians. Just the guys doing the job.
Because we have to talk quickly at a very high level, and I can't be sitting there spoon-feeding a chief. And no offenses, but I can't be spoon-feeding a chief that is not a technician or higher all the information and what my definitions mean. Chief, we're talking about vapor pressures here. This is how much it wants to come out of solution, go into the air. I don't have time for that crap.
Right.
I need to be talking the same language with people that are high speed with me.
Come up with a game plan, and then either your officer or your resource person, if the resource person feels comfortable enough to do this or your department allows it, to go and debrief the incident commander on what the plan is and make them feel better. Right. While everybody else is doing their thing, come up with a plan and then let somebody else fill in the incident commander.
Yep.
Number 6, one of the things that we see quite a lot fail is people not understanding the limitations of the other personnel on scene, right? So they either make assumptions about what a certain company can or can't do, what a certain department can or can't do. If the PD is coming in, well, they're doing this. And one of the best examples that we have of this is a show that we did a while back. I have no idea what the number is, but it was when we were talking to a biolab safety person. Mm-hmm. And she goes, it's really funny. All of my people inside the lab just assume that the fire department is going to come in and knows what to do. And all the firefighters that I talk to just assume that they're not going to go in the lab and all the people inside the lab know what to do. So it's things along those lines. Understand what the limitations of everybody on scene is going to be, because if you assume that a company or you assume that a personnel is going to be able to do a job that they can't, then things are going to fall apart really quickly.
Or won't.
Right, like refuses to.
Like they just they're digging in and they're like, well, we're not doing that. And that could be just as detrimental, to the operation. If you have a chief that goes, we're not doing that. But chief, this is the best operation. Again, it changes the trajectory of the entire operation.
Yes.
And I'm gonna combine this with tip 7, the final tip, because they kind of do play together, and we could play this back and forth. Is that the limitation to the team to keep your priorities on track? So Mike was talking about in 6 the limitation of the people, which is now your officers, your chiefs, your IC, and now I'm also talking about the entire team mentality and stuff like that, which is kind of in the same vein, right? And what may happen is that you might have members with different priorities, different game plans, different
ideas of how to get a job done.
Yeah, and that could send things off the rails. Now, this also can go into like, hey, we don't have the expertise, we don't have the equipment, we don't have the right people here. I might have to just drop back and punt, stabilize the operation, and wait for them to come in.
And you know what a great example of that is, that seems to be happening really, really frequently across the country, is railroad incidents.
Yeah.
You get these big railroad incidents, and there's a perfect time where you seriously need to understand the limitations of your team and your department. Like, you literally may have to wait for the railroad to come in with thousands of gallons of foam, or a water relay where you're trying to get thousands of gallons of water. So if you were to do something before all your assets are in place because you didn't realize your limitations, you could make things far, far worse in the long run.
Right. It's actually foolish. I don't see. I'm a big fan of get in there and get it done, but at the same time, you have to look and constantly reweigh where you're standing in this risk versus benefit analysis.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Hazmat Guys.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel at The Hazmat Guys, and take a moment to call our comment hotline at 843-628-1484.
And we are always looking forward to your feedback about information or interesting incidents that you were a part of, so send us a note at feedback@thehazmatguys.com.
Remember, guys, don't just get on the job, get into the job.